All right, we are live. Adam Hill Vending here with Adam. We are here for part 2 of Snyder Lance route overview. Okay, this part 2 we're going to go over. You've decided that you want to get into the Snyder Lance business. You don't want to do the bread route. You don't want to do vending. You want to actually purchase a route. So what we're going to talk about now is you've decided that I want Adam to put himself in your shoes, a beginner who doesn't really know anything about it, and what you're going to be looking for. So let's start there. You've decided, Adam, that you're going to go and buy a route. What should they be looking for, or what kind of steps are you looking to do?
Hey guys, so one of the first things I would do is if I saw a route that I was interested in, the first thing I would do is reach out to the seller of the business and schedule a meetup with them on to go over the route territory, how many stores, and also the financials of the route. How much is the route making per year, and how all that works.
Okay. So the first thing, you want to reach out to either the broker or the person who's selling the route, right? Mm-hmm. And then what's the next step? Then you want to go do a ride along, or?
Right. So yes, after that, I would schedule a ride along with him for him to pretty much teach me how the business works. Ride along would be from day to day how it works inside and out.
Okay, so you really want to literally ride along in their truck, go visit their locations. How many locations do they have? You know, just because you buy a route, there could be how many? 5 spots,
Sure.
10?
Sure. Yeah, it just depends on, because all some routes are a little different as far as the sales. So some people have routes that they do a certain amount of sales with only 5 stores, and some do it in 10. So the first thing I would do is, like I said, see it day to day, how it goes, and then week to week.
Okay, so what are some of the questions that you're going to be asking when you're doing this ride along? So you're in the truck, you're in the stores, you see how many locations they have. What are you looking for to gain if it's worth it or not?
So one of the things I would do is I would look at to see. One of the things is, if the route is worth it, is how much is the route making per year. If I'm going to leave a job to get into this, first thing I want to see is how much is the route making, the business making per year.
And they can prove that because it's all paid, right?
Right.
They should have bank statements that show you they got deposits of this amount of money, right?
Right. They can't edit or lie about the financials of the route.
Okay. So then you see it, all right, you're talking to them, you see that it makes a number that works for you based on the, amount of hours and work that's going to go into it. Now tell me more about, so when you're actually physically in the store, what are you looking at? Are you looking at like I know in vending, I'm looking at out of dates. I'm looking to see how many people are in the account. I'm looking at the type of machines, but in the Snyders, you don't really own any equipment. So what are you looking at there?
Right. So, right, exactly. I would look to see what are the dates looking like on the shelf. If they are, far out, then that means that, the product is selling very well. I would also see how busy the stores are from day to day, inside and out, how much product is being brought in, and so on and so forth.
And, something I just thought about too is the potential, right? So if you're in a growing area, right, or the opposite's true, if factories are shutting down, right? So down here in Florida, right, that's population's booming. So if you're in a new area where more stores are going to be in your territory, that could possibly, potentially be a added benefit.
Absolutely right. If the area is expanding, people are moving down. If they're building around you, yes, absolutely. And I would also see the owner, the seller itself, the owner of the business, might not be the best businessman for the route or etc. So I would also see if he's trying to grow the business as much as he can with displays and added shelf space.
So what would be a couple red flags to where you would so you're on the ride along, you're seeing the stores. What is it to where you're where you're just it turns you off basically? Is there anything like that?
Sure, absolutely. How organized is the seller, right? So I would look to see that, and also, like you said, if the route doesn't obviously make a lot a year, or if, like you said, if you see a lot of added dates or bad products that just aren't really moving, then I just probably wouldn't think it would be a good investment opportunity, because you can try to get as many displays as you want. But if there aren't customers there to buy it, you're just going to end up having a lot of out of dates and etc.
That's a good point.
A lot of
Good
loss.
point. Just like vending, a lot of people like to say, how many machines do you have? The amount of machines is not nearly as important as the quality of account, right? So some people have 400 machines, but they do less than someone with 100 machines because those 100 are in high traffic. So the same thing with the Snyder route. Just because they say they have 12 stores,
Right.
they could be convenience stores, which are notoriously slower volume,
Right.
or like what Hill Vending had with the Snyder Lance was basically two main stores that carried, and it was one of the top ones in top routes in the county and in the state actually.
Right.
So that's just something to think about. That just because they say, oh, we've got 12 locations, and just don't be, because I think a lot of people can get hoodwinked, right, or can get manipulated, right, by saying, oh, we have all this opportunity and there's all these stores and we can grow. Just because you put a vending machine out or add a territory doesn't mean, at a stop doesn't mean it's going to be producing.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's a good good overview. Over anything else as far as that you would look at after the ride along, you got a good feeling. Okay, so now you saw it. They've got solid location. You like the money. What would be kind of your next step?
So if you guys agree on the price and everything looks good and you like it, then I would start to dive into the process of the financials of the route as far as financing the route. There's a couple of different ways you can do this, but I would get that process started because you're going to be a business owner. So that's how you would have to start. Commercial auto insurance, how are you going to deliver the product, truck and trailer or a box truck? And also you'll have to set up a business name, whether it's an LLC or an S corp, to go down that route.
And the nice thing is there is a team that does help you along that process, right?
Right, that's correct.
So the Pepperidge Farm, whatever, Snyders, Campbell's team will assist you in getting the documentation together. It's not like you have to go and you'll have a point of contact that you can reach out to that will facilitate this, and they do get a percent for doing that. But
Right.
that is something that, again, you're not on your own. You are basically in the middle, right? A franchise, not really, whatever,
Right.
however you want to call
Their
it. Partner, right? And what do they call it? Route.
Independent business owner.
Right. So that's kind of the overview of the ride along. And then in the next video, we're going to go deeper into kind of some of the next steps, right, as far as servicing the route, optimizing the route, and eventually maybe selling the route. So those are going to be in the following parts. But if you have questions about this, drop them in the comments and we can address them further. But that's basically the overview of when you decide you want to ride along, or you decide you want to purchase a route and you do a ride along, what you're looking for. So let us know in the comments if you'd like something more specific. But right now, that concludes part 2. So we'll get into some of the questions here that we have on the live stream. Nicholas, are you going to talk about your smart cooler? Yes, we're going to go over our smart coolers in another video. Hi, gentlemen. I operate a large route close to as big as yours. What do margins look like, gross and bottom line? We can talk about that in another video. But as far as product cost, we're running around 40 to 41, 42%. Will any of the popular vending machine brands be affected? Yes. I mean, these smart coolers that we're getting in, we got a smart cooler is a Haha vending cooler from China. I mean, I think their prices are going to go up 20 to 30% here soon. Do you pay annual gross sales for a route like vending? Do you pay annual? Yeah, 1 times gross sales would be the most you'd ever pay. And then depending on the type of equipment, the type of account, you would come down from that. So awesome. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Stay tuned for part 3. And as always, until next time, keep your drinks cold.
And your snacks fresh.